Let's go back a little bit to when we had the split tribal twist and you found the control a vote advantage. This was exciting, but it was also really difficult to even make a move with it with Lauren's extra vote. Talk me through your strategy.
Oh, yes. So it's so interesting. I'll talk to you through like my emotions because I go from like a high and low to like, okay, let's do it. So when I find it and I read it for the first time, I'm like, yes, I can save Matt. Let's go. And then when I start like doing the numbers and they're not going to come to talk to us, that's when it hits me like, oh, this is not going to be good. So at the time I was like, oh, and then it's like, this is a disadvantage. Like, but I knew I was going to play it. I really did because, and I don't even know if I had a choice to actually not play it in all honesty, but I didn't even ask if that was an option because I'm playing Survivor. I was there for all of it. So if you give it to me, I'm going to use it and do whatever. So I knew there's a lot of people have too many theories of things I could have done. But at the end of the day, it came down to numbers. So I could have put a Ratu on Ratu. And then I had to hope that Jan was going to follow through and follow suit with what I was doing so we could try to save Matt. However, that's a could have, should have, would have. Maybe he would have, maybe he wouldn't, he would have not. So let's say he did. Let's say he went with mine. What would have happened is it would have ended up being on a tie. And I know he was in self-preservation mode after everything that happened with Tika. It would have not mattered. I would have ruined my game if I put Ratu on Ratu because then I have more enemies, right? I would have ruined my game even, like terribly, and still the outcome would have been not what I wanted. So that's what it came down to the numbers. So I didn't think it was a bit of a disadvantage, but there was a lot of power to the advantage because so many people gave me information which helped me propel my game and make it all the way to top 2. So yeah, no, I think it was hard, but yet now that I see it from the outside in, it's like I got so much information from it. Thank you for that question because I've been dying to talk about it.
I've been dying to talk to you about it. Okay, the tribal when you think you're going for Carson, but Carolyn plays the idol for him. Did it, because you still have your idol at this moment, did you panic for a minute and think about playing your idol?
Yes, I did. I'm not gonna lie. Yes. Of course, that was such a pivotal moment in the game because Danny and I wanted to convince Jamie and Lauren to go with us, right? And they didn't. And now hindsight, right? Like maybe they should have or whatever. I'm sure they have no regrets, but that was such an important moment because it would have been two Sokas, two Ratu, and two Tikas, and like Tika, Ratu, and Soka. So it would have been 2-2-2, and the game would have been so different that I ended up happening. So at the end of the day, they gave the Tika 3 the power to continue the game. Of course, I'm saying this knowing that maybe the idol wasn't going to be played. But when it came, I freaked out a little bit. Like it just burns a hole even deeper. But I was confident that I was not going to be the majority. Confident enough not to play it, but I was freaking out. That doesn't take away from being like my heart was like bursting out for sure. But I was confident with the strategy in place, even when Jamie and Lauren didn't play for us or with us.
Now we see your relationships with Jam Jam and Carolyn, but did it ever cross your mind that maybe you needed to team up with Jamie and Lauren to get a Tika out?
Absolutely, of course, right? Like there's 3 Tikas, 2 Ratus, and the Soul Soka. Yes, of course it did. Jam Jam and Jamie were close. I think they didn't quite show it that much, but they were close, and we can tell. Lauren and Carson were close, although that was not as evident, but you can still tell there's something there between the 4 of them. So for me, try to break through that. And when they told me at that vote, they told me, let's vote Carolyn. And in my head, that doesn't make any sense. Because if I vote Carolyn, then the next one would have been me. So it was a bit of self-preservation. Plus, they had voted me. They wrote my names the most. So it's so hard to trust after that. So yeah, I think if I would have because I could have played the idol and still work with them, I would have been gone 5th. I really think that was what's gonna happen. And the chemistry just, wasn't there. My gut was saying, don't do it. That's the only reason I didn't do it at that time.
Now, this last immunity challenge, dropping the ball and catching it, what is the key to winning that? You did brilliantly.
Steam motion is a classic. So when we saw it, and they put it in a location that's beautiful, and not only that, each area or each station had our names. We were all crying. This is the first one that had our name. Oh my God, Steam motion has my name. Like it was such an emotional roller coaster. But to your question, it's a lot about timing, eye coordination, and believe it or not, squatting, because you start going like that. But I was in the zone. I was there, so focused. I felt like I could throw 2-3 more balls and I would have been fine. So at no point I felt like I was losing control. And I had the timing going, because it's like, okay, for 2, this is where I have to drop the next one for the next one. So I felt very comfortable in the motion, in the whole sea motion situation. Love the challenge, and I love the fact that I ended up winning that one because it's such a classic.
Yes. Now, you immediately warn us that you might be going into fire. And
Yes.
I remembered, I think it was the very first episode, you made fire for your camp. Were you always just comfortable and considering making fire here?
So when I made it I'm comfortable making fire. Yes, and you could probably tell, right, being the fastest one ever, which blows my mind. When I did it at camp the first, and I'm glad they showed that, because everyone's like, oh, Danny's the fireman, he's gonna make it. I was like, I can make it too. And then when I made it, I was like, in my head, I was like, I made it too fast. I should have never, like, you don't want to show your cars that fast, right? So I was like, oh, that's a mistake. But no, I'm obsessed with Survivor. So I've been practicing with the flints. I get flints for my birthdays or Christmas because my husband knows I love it so much. That's how ridiculous I am. And every time we need to make a camp or a campfire or fire for s'mores, whatever, I'm always like, I'm getting my flint. So it's just something I got obsessed with. And I was comfortable. I was comfortable with the fire. That was one aspect that I was very comfortable at in the game.
And so do you pretty much know that you need to get Carson out at this point? You might as well try to make fire against him and sit next to Carolyn and Jam Jam.
So at the time, I thought he had the strongest game. He was part of Ratu for a little bit, so I knew he had relationships with them, and they were sitting in the jury. I knew he was close with Jam Jam and Carolyn, of course, but he won immunity challenges, he won rewards. So just like looking at his resume and everyone's resume, even though they were relying on each other, you could have said that Carolyn and Jam Jam play similar games to Carson. From the 3 of them, I thought he had the strongest one and the strongest relationship. Everyone loved him, including me. So going against him was because I wanted to go against the strongest player. And I was sad. But that was the game. I was there to win too. No regrets about the decision. He's a fantastic player and fantastic person. But I was confident with the fire. Now the fire was on the scary part. The scary part was taking the immunity off and risk it all. So it's like, am I really gonna be able to do it? So I didn't think I was gonna do it until I was there. Like every single step of the way, I was questioning it. Is this the right? Like, do I care? Like, so it was so difficult to make the decision. But once I was there, I was ready. It was just taking the immunity off. That was so hard. Doing that at the game is probably one of the hardest things I've ever done.
I
in my life.
imagine. Yes. Now, going to Final Tribal is an experience, not everyone gets to do. And it's got to be nerve-wracking, though. You've got to really spell out your game. You've got to defend questions. Just give me your experience. Explain that Final Tribal to me.
Yeah, I think it was exciting to just get there, never get our fire snuffed. It's such an accomplishment. It's a big deal for us, right? I never underestimated Jam and Carolyn. No, never that's like the biggest rule. Never underestimate your opponent, no matter who they are. So I never did. And when I went back to the camp with Carolyn and Jam, they're like, oh my God, you won. That was such a boss move. So good. They were like, oh, you won. But in my head, I'm like, don't just, they might be saying that so I don't prepare, so I'm comfortable. I didn't allow myself to get comfortable. So of course I prepared and I was ready to say whatever I was saying there. It was a good experience. It was nerve-wracking and exhausting, I'm not gonna lie. Like not eating for 26 days and then being tribal council is long. That final one is hours and hours and hours. So we were exhausted, but at that time it was like I just have to fight, give it my all, and I really tried. I hope people, you know, get to see that I really was trying. I was, you know, hoping that to get more votes than I did, but no regrets. I'm proud of that moment, and it's such a blessing to be there.
Absolutely. Well, it was so wonderful to watch your game, and I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Nice meeting you. Sending you love back. Thank you.
Thank you.